Can you tell me when to start? We'll go ahead and begin on page 1. Om Jnanatirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Shagrajantam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hi. So we'll be reading from the Bhagavad-gita as it is, chapter 10, verse 25. That'll be page 505. So we'll read the Sanskrit together, and we'll read the Sanskrit and the English together. Maharshinam Vigoraham Giram Asmekam Aksharam Yagyamam Japayagyosmi Stavaranam Himalayaha. Of the great sages, I am Bhrigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. And in immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Text 26. Ashvata Sarvavrikshanam Devarshinam Chanaradaha Gandharva Chitrapta Didhanam Kapilom Mihi. Of all trees, I am the holy fig tree, and amongst the sages and demigods, I am Narada. Of the singers of the gods, Gandharvas, I am Chitrarata, and among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Text 27. Uchai Shrava Samashva Virimam Amritopavam Airavatam Gajandrana Naranam Cha Naradipam. Of horses, know me to be Uchai Shrava, who rose out of the ocean, born of the elixir of immortality. Of lordly elephants, I am Airavata, and among men, I am the monarch. Text 28. Ayudhanam Vajram Denunam Asmi Kamaju Ajanashasmi Gandharva, Sarpanamasmi Vasuki. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the Surabhi, givers of abundant milk. Of procreators, I am Kandarpa, the god of love, and of serpents, I am Vasuki, the chief. Text 29. Anantastasmi naganam, varuno yadasama, pitrinam aryamakshasmi, yamasam yamatama. Of the celestial Naga snakes, I am Ananta. Of the aquatic deities, I am Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama. And among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, Lord of Death. Text 30. Pralarashasmi Daityanam, Kala Kala Yatama, Mrigan Mrigendroham, Vainateyascha Pakshinam. Among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Prahlad, and among the subduers, I am Time. Among the beasts, I am the lion, and among birds, I am Garuda, the feathered carrier of Vishnu. Text 31. Pavana Pavatamasmi, Rama Shastra Britama, Shashana Kurashasmi, Shota Samasmi Javan. Of purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapons, I am Ram. Of fishes, I am the shark. And of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. Text 32. Argana Madhirantascha, Madhyam Chaiva Hamarjuna, Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam, Vada Prabhata. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle, O Arjuna. Of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Text 33. Aksharanam makarosmi, dvandva samvakshukasya, aham eva kshaya kala, tathaham vishvato mukha. Of letters, I am the letter A, and among compounds, I am the dual word. I am also inexhaustible time, and of creators, I am Brahma, whose manifold faces turn everywhere. Text 34. Mrityu sarva varashaham, udbhavascha bhavishyatam, kirti sriva shrivanam, smritir medha dhriti kshama. I am all devouring death, and I am the generator of all things yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience. Text 35, last text. Brihat sama tata samna, Gayatri chandasama, Masana vargashishoham, Ritunam kusupakara. Of hymns, I am the Brihat Sama, sung to the Lord Indra, and of poetry, I am the Gayatri verse, sung daily by the Brahmanas. Of months, I am November and December, and of seasons, I am flower-bearing spring. Okay, we'll return to page 505, text 25. Of the great sages, I am Brigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names Japa. And of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Purport. Brahma, the first living creature within the universe, created several sons for the propagation of various kinds of species. The most powerful of his sons is Brigu, who is also the greatest sage. Of all the transcendental vibrations, the Om, Omkara, represents the supreme. Of all the sacrifices, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the purest representation of Krishna. Sometimes animal sacrifices are recommended, but in the sacrifice of Hare Krishna, there is no question of violence. It is the simplest and the purest. Whatever is sublime in the world is a representation of Krishna. Therefore, the Himalayas, the greatest mountains in the world, also represent him. The mountain named Meru was mentioned in a previous verse, but Meru is sometimes movable, whereas the Himalayas are never movable. Thus, the Himalayas are greater than Meru. Danavir Maharaj, would you like to speak on any of these verses? So here in chapter 10, it's titled The Opulence of the Absolute. So we begin the chapter with Arjuna inquiring from Krishna. And he sincerely begins, as we heard yesterday, that he's accepting Krishna. So he says, okay, Krishna, I accept you and all that you've shared with me about your glories, but please tell me more. So now he's asking, can you tell me more about your divine potencies and powers? And so one question that Arjuna asks in text 17, he says, how should I meditate on you, and how should I contemplate on you and your various forms? And so here, this text 25, we're hearing of a couple ways that we could meditate on Krishna. And here, although it's being spoken to Arjuna, this is also an instruction for us to follow. I'm forgetting which verse, but previously Srila Prabhupada was saying that we should follow Arjuna in inquiring from the Lord in this way and taking the Lord's instructions. And so here, one of the ways that Krishna says that we can meditate on him is by chanting the holy names, japa. And Srila Prabhupada further elaborates that this chanting is beneficial in this age as the Hare Krishna mantra. And it's, I thought it would be nice to speak about this most sublime practice of japa, because we do this here every day at RVC. We chant together, and here we sing kirtan, but we also chant japa, which is an individual practice on beads. So I thought we could kind of have a discussion on glorifying the holy name. So this mantra is very special because the Lord himself also chanted these names. I read in Krishna book, I'll just read a little excerpt of it. Srila Prabhupada wrote, Krishna had many thousands of cows, and they were divided into groups according to their colors. They also they were also named differently according to color. And I didn't write the whole thing down, but basically he has 108 different cows, and so he chants on his beads to call the cows to come back. I apologize, I didn't write the whole thing. But also, Krishna as Lord Chaitanya comes and chants this Maha Mantra to share with us the potency of glorifying the Lord in this way. And so I thought one way to glorify the holy names would be nice if we read a little bit of the Sri Shastakam, which were verses spoken by Lord Chaitanya. Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai. So Krishna says, "Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious." So here, I like how he says, it is the life of all transcendental knowledge. Without our chanting sincerely, it's very difficult for us to understand Krishna. Through our sincere chanting of his holy names, he reveals himself. He says he's knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And so as we try to chant very sincerely, he gives life to us through our chanting. He gives life to all this knowledge that we're hearing through the Srimad Bhagavatam, through this Bhagavad-gita. And he further says, it increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. We're always hankering for some happiness, some pleasure in this world. And if we take shelter of things that are temporary, there's no bliss that comes from it. And so this chanting, what we call Sankirtan, this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra together, it increases that bliss within each and every one of us. And it connects us with the Supreme Lord. So I'd like to read the next verse that he writes also. "O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them." I'm going to read one more. So the next verse, "One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree and devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly." So here, we practice chanting because it purifies our heart, and we have this dust in our heart, and this dust includes, desires of material things that are temporary. And so as we continue to chant, we might not have a desire in the beginning, just like Lord Chaitanya was saying in these verses, that he has no attraction for them. And that sounds like me, I mean, I have some, I think. I chant every day. But to really chant and feel that the Lord's in his name, that is pure chanting. And so that's what we're trying to achieve here together, is to see that there's more in this world than material pleasures that are, flickering and temporary. But when we chant, or when we try to serve the Lord and serve others, serve the Lord by, serving the devotees, then our lives are complete, and joyful. It is said that this is a form of sacrifice in this purport. Prabhupada says that this chanting of Hare Krishna is a sacrifice. And I looked up sacrifice online on the dictionary, and it said sacrifice is an act of offering to a deity something precious. So one thing we do offer when we chant is our time. And a lot of people in the material world are thinking, oh, yeah, time is money. I've got to work. I've got to stay busy. But here we're giving our whole days, to Krishna to chant his names. For me, it takes about 2 hours to chant japa. And it is a sacrifice when my mind says, oh, go and do this, go and do that. This is better. But really, there's nothing better when you really try to sit and connect with Krishna. And so through this process of chanting, everything is revealed to us, just as everything has been revealed to Arjuna. Here in the Bhagavad-gita, we're hearing the glories of Krishna. And it's all due to Arjuna's asking, his sincere surrender. And so we're really fortunate to be able to read the Lord's answers of Arjuna's humble requests. And Krishna says in chapter 10, verse 10 that we read recently, that to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So this love, we're trying to learn how to love Krishna. At least I have been so busy loving myself, outside of Krishna, trying to serve my senses. But here, as we try to perform the 9 processes of devotional service, including hearing transcendental conversations, and chanting, and serving the Lord, taking prasadam. There's so many different things we can do to develop love for God. And one simple way is by chanting. Krishna has made it so easy for us. Yeah. Are there any comments or questions so far? Okay, so we'll go ahead and read text 26. Of all trees, I am the holy fig tree, and amongst sages and demigods, I am Narada. Of the singers of the gods, Gandharvas, I am Chitraratha, and among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Purport. The fig tree Ashvata is one of the most beautiful and highest trees, and people in India often worship it as one of their daily morning rituals. Amongst the demigods, they also worship Narada, who is considered the greatest devotee in the universe. Thus, he is a representation of Krishna as a devotee. And the Gandharva planet is filled with entities who sing beautifully, and among them, the best singer is Chitraratha. Amongst the perpetually living entities, Kapila is considered an incarnation of Krishna, and his philosophy is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Later on, another Kapila became famous, but his philosophy was atheistic. Thus, there is a gulf of difference between them. So Krishna comes as Kapila Dev, as the son of Devahuti, and he instructs her on this transcendental knowledge of that we're not these bodies, we're spirit souls. We might think, I'm American, I'm Indian, I'm Asian, I'm black, white, all these different designations, but we're not these designations. We're not even our minds. We are spirit soul, and we are Satchit Ananda. So we're full of knowledge, full of bliss, and we're eternal. And our constitutional position is servants of the servants of the servants of the Lord. And so Kapila Dev, he is mentioned here as an incarnation of Krishna, but later on, another Kapila came and taught a different philosophy that's not favorable for our real nature. And so it's a reminder to be careful where we receive our knowledge. There's so many false gurus trying to spread so-called spiritual knowledge. So we should be careful and question, who is this person that's giving this knowledge? How do they live? How do they speak? How do they walk? What do they do in their so-called free time? And so, yeah. Text 27. Of horses know me to be Uchaishrava, who rose out of the ocean, born of the elixir of immortality. Of lordly elephants I am Airavata, and among men I am the monarch. Purport. The devotee demigods and the demons asuras once took a sea journey. On this journey, nectar and poison were produced, and Lord Shiva drank the poison. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Uchaishrava. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Airavata. Because these two animals were produced from nectar, they have special significance, and they are representatives of Krishna. Amongst the human beings, the king is a representative of Krishna because Krishna is the maintainer of the universe. And the kings who are appointed on account of their godly qualifications are maintainers of their kingdoms. Kings like Maharaj Yudhisthira, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Ram were all highly righteous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. In Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, with the corruption of the principles of religion, monarchy decayed and is now finally abolished. It is to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under righteous kings. So here we see that our current leaders are not teaching spiritual knowledge in the way that the Vedas do. And here we're hearing about kings like Maharaj Yudhisthira, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Ram, who lived a devotional life to the Lord. And because they were living that way, they were benefiting the people. And they weren't acting for selfish motives. And so if we change ourselves individually, we may influence others to change themselves and choose to live more righteous lives and try to surrender unto the Lord. The suffering in the world is caused because of a lack of God consciousness. And real peace can come in the world if we're conscious of God, because God is within all beings and all things. We would treat one another differently and everything differently if we understood that God is within everything. Text 28. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the surabhi, givers of abundant milk. Of procreators, I am Kandarpa, the god of love, and of serpents, I am Vasuki, the chief. Purport. The thunderbolt, indeed a mighty weapon, represents Krishna's power. In Krishna Loka, in the spiritual sky, there are cows which can be milked at any time, and they give as much milk as one likes. Of course, such cows do not exist in this material world, but there is mention of them in Krishna Loka. The Lord keeps many engaged in herding the surabhi cows. Kandarpa is the sex desire for presenting good sons. Therefore, Kandarpa is the representative of Krishna. Sometimes sex is engaged in only for sense gratification. Such sex does not represent Krishna. but sex for the generation of good children is called Kandarpa and represents Krishna. So here, the cows are so wonderful and they're so sweet and they're huge and just really loving. And I remember milking a cow once or a couple times, and it's not easy. And it's sometimes, they like to give a lot of milk and sometimes they don't give so much. But from my experience, they gave a lot and it was nice. But now we have factories of people trying to, give hormones so that cows will give more milk, because they're seeing that, oh, these cows aren't giving sufficient milk. So we have to inject them with things. And it's not natural. And one reason these cows are not giving so much milk is because they're unhappy. They're being mistreated. And we can hear that Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he loves cows. And so the mistreatment of cows reflects the consciousness of this world. What we can see here in the spiritual world, Krishna has these cows that give an abundant amount of milk. And milk has so many benefits, and we know this. There's, the classic commercial got milk, people, know that there's gold in this milk. This is, it's good for us. And so there's definitely lots of health benefits from drinking milk. It's because the Lord who owns and controls everything, he loves cows. So and here we are hearing about Kandarpa, and Kandarpa is a god of love. And here we're hearing that he is a representative of Krishna, and he represents sex that is used for propagation of good children. And here we see that there are so many people who are having children and not raising them in God consciousness. And that causes so much havoc in the world, so much suffering, because these children are being misled to thinking that so many different ways of living that are outside of God consciousness. Basically, here's, live your life in a way to enjoy your senses, or like a lot of children are suffering. There's a lot of mental health issues, because they're not given this opportunity to seek a higher principle, to seek shelter in a higher shelter than just like, okay, buy this or buy that, or go here, travel, go to school. There's so many ways to enjoy some kind of pleasure in the world. And so we hear the highest pleasure in the material world to a lot of people is sex, and it's being misused. This energy that we release when we perform this is energy that can be used in the service of Krishna, in the service of the humanity at large. This energy can be converted into creative energy where we feel enthusiastic to create. And so here it might be hard to hear that for a lot of people, but it's definitely possible to spiritualize every aspect of our lives, including our sex lives. So on to the next text, 29. Of the celestial Naga snakes, I am Ananta. Of the aquatic deities, I am Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama. And among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, Lord of Death. Purport. Among the many celestial Naga serpents, Ananta is the greatest, as is Varuna among the aquatics. They both represent Krishna. There is also a planet of trees chief. Yama is situated in a planet near this earthly planet, and after death, those who are very sinful are taken there, and Yama arranges different kinds of punishments for them. I don't have much realization on this, so I'm going to read the next verse. Among the Daitya demons, I am the beloved Prahlad. Among subduers, I am Time. Among the beasts, I am the lion, and among birds, I am Garuda, the feathered carrier of Vishnu. Purport. Diti and Aditi are two sisters. The sons of Aditi are called Adityas, and the sons of Diti are called Daityas. Of the Adityas are devotees of the Lord, and all the Daityas are atheistic. Although Prahlad was born in the family of the Daityas, he was a great devotee from his childhood. Because of his devotional service and godly nature, he is considered to be a representative of Krishna. There are many subduing principles, but time wears down all things in the material universe, and so represents Krishna. Of the many animals, the lion is the most powerful and ferocious, and of the million varieties of birds, Garuda, the bearer of Lord Vishnu, is the greatest. So Prahlad Maharaj was raised in a demoniac family, but he was so fortunate to be able to hear about the Lord in his mother's womb. Is that correct? Okay. And so here we can see how merciful the Lord is and how kind he is to give us all an opportunity in many different ways to realize him. And so for Prahlad Maharaj, his father was a demoniac king and came to a point where he decided, my son is he's not like me. He wants to surrender to the Lord, and I'm not in favor for that. So he, in many ways, tried to kill his son, but his son was praying so fervently to the Lord. He was so devoted, and the Lord protected him every time his father tried to kill him. And so here we're hearing the Lord is saying that he is the devoted Prahlad. So we can see how the Lord is guiding us through his devotees, and that we should see that we can take the Lord's instructions through his pure devotees. Okay. Text 31. Of purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapons, I am Ram. Of fishes, I am the shark. And of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. Purport. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus, the shark represents Krishna. And of rivers, the greatest in India is the mother Ganges. Lord Ramachandra of the Ramayana, an incarnation of Krishna, is the mightiest of warriors. So here we're hearing about Lord Ram. And as we were speaking about the Maha Mantra earlier, we are also saying his names. And so here Krishna is also saying that he is Ram. And Ram is known here as the mightiest of warriors. But as we say his name, we also are calling upon the Lord's energy of bliss. So when we say Hare Krishna and Hare Rama, we're calling upon different aspects of the Lord. And so Hare is the energy of the Lord, and also known as Radha. And Krishna is the Lord's name, meaning all attractive. He has all qualities of, or he has the 6 qualities that most people are trying to gain, like all wealth, all beauty, all strength, all fame, all renunciation. Help me out. All knowledge. Is that all of it? I'm pretty sure I wasn't counting. So here, as we chant Krishna, we realize, oh, he is the one that has unlimited of all these things. And we just have a little speck. We have some of these qualities, or we can gain them, but it's not to the same extent as the Lord does. So when we chant Krishna, we're accepting that, oh, you are the supreme, you're Bhagavan, you have all these qualities, and I am just a servant of you. And so as I serve you and glorify you, I may also gain these things. That's not a devotee's goal to gain these qualities. I mean, we already have them, but our goal is to learn how to love him and appreciate that, yeah, it's so great. God has these qualities. There's someone that has, like, this is the greatest person, and I'm able to get to know him. And then Ram is also Krishna, and I'm still getting to know Lord Ram, but from my understanding, in this mantra, saying Ram is connecting with his pleasure potency. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is one way that we attain bliss from chanting his holy names. Okay, are there any comments or questions thus far? Prabhu. Oh.
Haribol, thank you for the nice class so far. I had a question. This may be pretty, I don't know, but I'm just wondering, when Krishna says, he's saying, I am, he's all of these things. How exactly should we take that, basically?
Can you elaborate on, like, I am?
Yeah, Krishna's saying, I am the shark. So what to do with that information? Should I then go and worship sharks? Or, what exactly, what to do with that mood? Does that mean that, is he speaking literally, or is he speaking figuratively, or is it both? Or speaking just in a way as to kind of get us to see that he's the reservoir of all opulences, and any great thing we see is ultimately coming from him, or what? Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just share from my realization. I'm not going to say that this is the ultimate absolute truth. I'll just share what I have heard and understood. This reminds me of how I think we've heard it here once, that, so let's say you admire a celebrity and you're invited to their home, and you go to their home and you see their clothes. You're like, oh, this is a part of him, her. And you decide, like, to worship that item. And their scent is there. And so it seems like them, but it's not them. Or even a picture of them, but it's not them. It is them and it's not. And so in this way, if you know that there's a person connected, it's nice to be able to go directly to that person. And Krishna is saying he's all these things. And I'll be honest, I don't have full realization of that. That's just my understanding, that if I know that I'm given an opportunity to see Krishna in the form that he wants, as in, cowherd boy Krishna, two-legged, two-armed, playing the flute. If we're given this knowledge, it's nice to just go to that realization, because there are people who can come to Krishna through the impersonal way of, worshiping the sun and the earth. I mean, it's ultimately worshiping the demigods, which we heard about. We've been hearing about how we are more likely to reach Krishna by worshiping the demigods because we've accepted that the Vedas are true, but it's not the absolute. Was that okay? I think he had a question over here.
I just wanted to say that I think I heard you say that Hare is energy, and that Krishna is perfect, or is to be glorified. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes. So Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So this is his name. And so when we say his name, we do connect with the one who is perfect, and complete. Is that okay? Okay. Are there any final comments or questions, dear devotees? Well, thank you so much for attending Srimad Bhagavad-gita class. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, and